Public education is not working. We have continued to pour money into the school system without seeing major improvements. What would you do to reinvent the way public education is conducted to address our failing system?
Well, Ken, thank you for your question. Education is a key element for me in terms of how we drive our state forward. Now, my wife and I went to public schools in Midland, Michigan, Carpenter Street Elementary, Jefferson Middle School, and Midland Dow, and our children went to the very same public schools as well. And they got a great education. But today, unfortunately, for too many kids, they are not getting the education that they deserve. And it's not teachers' fault. It's about, and the war on teachers has to end. But the fact is, we need to make sure that we have a plan and approach that helps children succeed. Our third grade reading scores, Ken, are among the lowest in America. Only 35% of our third graders are proficient in reading when they complete the third grade. And that means that the approach we're taking now, it gets an F. What I want to do is have a literacy director as governor, smack dab in my cabinet because of the significance of reading. I want to grade our schools A through F, a report card for families and parents so they can determine how their school matches up against others. I believe in incentives, and for those schools that are showing improvement, then I would reward that with financial grants to encourage that and others to compete as well. And we need to have greater emphasis on skilled trades and apprenticeships. So education is part of the driving force, and when I'm governor, Michigan's children will read.
Hearing that our schools are failing is tough for a teacher to take in, especially when every day with second grade I see growth, and that's the reason why I do what I do, and that's the reason why most teachers do what they do. So
I agree with you, by the way. I mean, that it is a hard question, it's a hard answer to digest, and the fact that these third grade reading scores, it's not just one area in Michigan, it's across the state, and we can't afford, that's just wrong. I mean, we ought to be up in arms about that.
So third grade reading law is enacted, but it was passed without a lot of backing to pay for it. How would you combat that?
Number one, we need to stick to one test, one plan, keep the goalposts in place, so to speak, and use that as a judgment. And we need to focus on outcomes, in my opinion. And we need to try different things. You know, for example, I want to have a Michigan Reading Foundation, Amber, where you'd have the business community and the philanthropic community contribute to this foundation, where we could hire summer reading coaches, and we could have summer reading camps and work on pre-K efforts to help children read.
So if we have a third grader who is not reading at grade level, they're retained. What happens when they don't read at grade level that year?
Well, I'm of the attitude, I'm a can-do kind of guy. We need to make sure that we do everything possible to have that person, that young child, read. And whether that's summer reading camps, whether that's reading coaches, we just have to get it done. That has to be the attitude. We have to have a can-do approach because if we don't teach that person the ability to read, it's a dead-end street. And then where does that person go? What's the future? It's probably a life of crime. Maybe it's selling drugs. Maybe it's in the prison system. You know, we've lost a life then. My attitude is, I'm not going to, Amber, I'm not going to give up on that person. You see, that is not how I, yeah, that's not how I operate. That's not how I operate.